Hello, hockey fans. Well, the NHL is currently in the Four Nations break, and it's a perfect time, obviously, to talk about the playoff picture because the regular season resumes on Saturday, and that's when the home stretch will begin. But let's talk about the playoff picture. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting this year, and especially in the East. The East, there appears to be a change in the guard in quite a few places, and some surprising teams finally stepping up and showing their worth that they belong in this playoff picture. But but yeah, so it's pretty wild. It's pretty insane. So without further ado, let's talk about the Eastern Conference playoff picture. And here's the Eastern Conference standings during this break. As you see, the this is the 12th year of the format. Top three teams each division qualify, totaling 6 teams per conference, and the other two are decided for your wild card format. And starting with the Atlantic, it's a close race. Before the Panthers, the reigning defending Stanley Cup champion for the Panthers, lead the Atlantic with 71 points after being behind the division for quite a bit. Toronto was in first place for a good bit, but they've fallen behind. But they're not that far behind. They're only 3 points behind Florida with 68 points. Tampa has 66 and is in third place. As for the Metro, the Washington Capitals lead not only the Metro Division, but they lead the entire conference with 80 points. Yeah, 80 points. They are 2 points away from locking up at least a 500 record and 3 points away from getting a winning record. And this comes a year after they were the actual 16 seed, if you will, overall in the playoffs. The Carolina Hurricanes are a distant second with 70 points, and the New Jersey Devils are third with 68. As far as the wild card standings, that's where it gets really interesting. The Senators and the Red Wings. The Senators have the number one spot with 62 points. Detroit with 61. It's been a while since both these teams have sniffed the playoffs. Right behind them, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Very inspiring. 1 point behind the Boston Bruins, who are 2 years removed from having their 65-win season. They're behind the playoff line by a point. The Rangers and Islanders are keeping pace. The Canadiens, even with their skid, their pace. The Penguins and the Flyers, they have a slight shot, but at least they're not the Sabres. That's all I can say. So that's the picture. Now let's talk about the teams that are the respective teams that are above the playoff line in the East. Starting with the Atlantic Division's top three. Of course, there's the Atlantic Division's top three: the Panthers, the Leafs, and the Lightning. It's very interesting. Florida and Toronto were kind of neck and neck in the division for a while, and Toronto was actually leading it for a good bit. And the crazy thing was, most of it was without Austin Matthews. That was the crazy thing. Now, they've kind of fallen off a little bit, but not bad enough that they can't actually climb back up and overtake Florida. But it would be really something if Toronto actually does end up finishing first in the Atlantic. They haven't won a division title since that shortened 2020-21 season. But if you have to be, and shame on you if you are, if you have to be one of those people that has to dismiss anything that happened during COVID, again, shame on you if you are, the Maple Leafs haven't won a division title in a full season since 2000. Yeah. Since the 99-2000 season. Since they were led by some guy named Matt Sundin, hell of a player. So it's been a minute since they finished first in the division. They actually have a shot at that. And then you have Tampa. Now Tampa was kind of, I wouldn't say starting low, but Tampa was supposed to be kind of hitting like a little bit of a low, not like a downward spiral, but a bit of a low after those long runs. I mean, I kind of thought after Florida kind of trounced them last year's playoffs, I thought, well, this might be it. But they get Jake Gensel, and they do just enough to stay afloat in that division. So they're above the division's playoff line as well as the overall Eastern Conference playoff line. We'll see how that lasts. Now on to the Metropolitan's top three. Show of hands. Who here had the Washington Capitals having the best record in the league by this point? I don't know, put your hands down, you're lying. But anyway, it's amazing because a lot of us walked into this season figuring, well, only thing the Capitals have going for them is Ovi trying to get the record. And not only is he getting closer and closer and closer, but he's getting the goals, even though he's been out for a bit this season. Ovi still has a chance to actually surpass Gretzky this year. Yeah, he could actually surpass Gretzky before the season's out. But not only is that going on, Washington is winning games left and right. Uh, all sorts of players are doing well. Jacob Chikrin has been revitalized in D.C. Even Pierre-Luc Dubois, who has been notorious for being lazy, he's found a spark. And they got Logan Thompson in net, who's just kicking ass and has Canadians wondering why the hell hasn't he been starting in Four Nations for them. It's just crazy what's going on, and it's a big lead they have in this division. It's a big lead to have this division. So really, Carolina and the Devils, for the most part, are competing for second place. And speaking of Carolina, I have to talk about this because, so they got Rantanen in that deal. I remember a lot of Avs fans were like, "Oh no!" And people thought, "Well, Carolina won the trade." Well, now I know it's early. It's only been like a week, a little over a week or so, but Moose hasn't been putting up the numbers for Carolina. He's stuck at 2 points. Though I think that'll change. I really think that'll change. But even if that does, will they keep him? That's the thing. Because people are saying he could be a rental for them because he's going to be a free agent after this year. And if they want to keep Rantanen, they better break the bank for him. Something tells me they're not going to do that. So Mikko could be off elsewhere after this season. We don't know. And the Devils, well, it's been kind of up and down for them, but they're doing all right. They're in third place. That's a good spot if you're in the playoffs. You don't want to be a wild card. Wild card, you got to play a division winner. Though upsets have happened. Speaking of wild cards, let's talk about them, shall we? Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, a team in the Eastern Conference, in the Atlantic Division, to be more specific, was actually expected to end a very long playoff drought. They had pretty good seasons. They dealt away their top star and watched them win a Stanley Cup. But even then, the future was supposed to be bright for them. Right around this year, it was supposed to be their year to finally break away and finally make the playoffs for the first time in years. That team is neither one of these two. That team was the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are in the bottom of the conference. These two, who also have been in the playoffs in a long time, have suddenly found themselves above the line, and it's amazing. The Senators, I'm very happy for, because we kind of broke them with that trade. That 3-team deal happened, and the Senators just plummeted. They plummeted. Now look at them. They were actually in third place in the division at one time. They were in third place in the Atlantic. Now they've slipped back down behind Tampa Bay, but they're still above the playoff line. They hold the number one wild card spot, which means if the season ended now, Brady Tkachuk will be facing off against his big brother in the playoffs. Now that would be something. And then you have Detroit. Now I can't believe I live in a world where Detroit has gone about 8 years without a playoff appearance. After all, remember this team made this playoffs 25 years straight. But here we are, and Detroit looks like they're going to be staying above ground. It's amazing what these two teams are doing. Now, will it stay that way? A big part of me is hoping it is, though it's a jungle in that wild card standings. You got Columbus, you got Boston bring down these two teams next. Both New York teams have a shot. Even the Pennsylvania team, pretty much anybody that's not Buffalo has a legit shot at surpassing one, if not both of these two. We'll definitely see what happens in the final 8 weeks of the regular season. That's a lot of time. So yeah, that is the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. For my story about this on Vocal, the link is up above. Check it out when you can. So, if you like this video, click the like button. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe if you want more. If you're on TikTok, feel free to hit that follow button. And I'll be back to talk about the West before this Four Nations break ends. I will get to the Western Conference very soon. So stay tuned.